Good afternoon. Okay. My name is Steve Zorn. I am chair of the Community Appearance Commission, and I just want to welcome everyone to our 14th Community Appearance Award ceremony. I'd like to give a special welcome to our elected officials that are with us here today. Mayor Joines from the City of Winston-Salem, Vivian Berg, Mayor Pro Tem from the Winston-Salem City Council. We have Council Member Jeff McIntosh from the Winston-Salem City Council. And also from our City County Planning Board, Alan Younger and Lynn Mitchell. So, thank you all for being with us here today. The Community Appearance Commission sponsors the biannual awards program in honor of individuals, businesses, and organizations that make a positive impact on the appearance in our community. To begin the program, I'd like to invite Paul Norby, who is Director of Planning and Development Services, up to the stage to introduce our keynote speaker.
Good afternoon, everybody. Great to be here on this warm June day here. I guess summer has arrived there, but so it's my job to introduce our speaker. Charles Brown is a native of North Carolina, actually has his family roots from not too far away. Tells me that they probably circled through here on the old wagon road at one time. But he has practiced architecture for over 25 years, founding Brown Architecture in 1996. The firm was awarded the 2002 Sustainable Business Award by Sustainable North Carolina. Charles has designed numerous green and LEED projects, consults with design teams and owners to implement green design strategies. He has lectured to over 24 groups and conferences on energy efficiency, daylight control, building science, and consulted to the U.S. EPA Commercial Building Design Program. In 2011, he led a team of energy managers advising community colleges in central North Carolina on energy conservation measures. He served as committee chair to create the high performance design guidelines for the Triangle Region public facilities, was a founding board member of the U.S. Green Building Council North Carolina Triangle Chapter, and serves on the Appalachian State University Interior Design Committee, as well as brought the AIA 2030 lecture series to North Carolina. Currently, he is the Assistant Director of Project Development at NC State University, where he also serves on the campus environmental sustainability team. Please help me give a warm welcome to our speaker today, Charles Brown.
Thank y'all. Thank you for having me. I've forgotten how long that was. Doesn't leave me much to say. I'll try not to bore you with the energy stuff, but that is kind of my bent. As Paul said, I'm an architect. And wanted to talk about green design and community character. And what I want to get across is that green design, although I have a very technical background, is really about character. It's really about place when done right. I think it touches everything, and more than anything, it's a way of thinking. And being that it's a way of thinking, I want to tell you a little bit about more personal stuff about all other than the CV. My family did longtime North Carolinians. I've only spent a few years out of North Carolina myself. But my place, the place that I'm from, the place that I identify when people say, "Where are you from?" It's a little crossroads in southeastern North Carolina called Ivanhoe. My grandparents moved down there to log timber from and I lived there till I was about 6, and my school years in Wilmington. But I was, still spend a lot of time there, spent a lot of time there with my grandparents. And I tell you that because I think we all have a story about place, and I think place in our personal story is what makes character and how we develop our views of character. Being from the country, obviously I spend a lot of time outdoors, hunting and fishing, and still do that, still get my exercise generally outdoors. I'm not a treadmill guy. I'm a child of the oil crisis in the 70s. I think I was about 12 years old when that hit the U.S., and that had a big impact on my thinking and maturity. And I think also being from a background where roots in farming and timber and most longtime North Carolinians, we have a very pragmatic outlook on things. And I think that pragmatic, that conservative, we like the way things are, we appreciate the way things are, and we want to conserve our quality of life in North Carolina. I think that's key to how I think about green design. Green comes in all shades. I'm sure it's kind of a catchphrase now. We hear it all the time. And in my opinion, when it's done right, it really is key to creating character. Sorry, I'm going to put my timer on here so I won't send y'all. I'm not used to being a preacher. I don't want anybody to go to sleep on me. But it comes in all shades. We hear it all times, and I think any shade is a step in the right direction. I think we take baby steps, and when we access change, and I'm going to show you some examples of deep green, light green, and all shades in between. There's when you hear green and you hear it in relative design, there's what I would say 3 main certification systems, and one, and I'm going to go in order of difficulty. Green Globes is self-reporting and follows LEED, which I think most of you probably already heard of LEED. Except it was one of the first certifications processes to require buildings to report their energy consumption per year. And if there's anything that comes back that kind of rules all green, well, not all green, but a key part of it is energy consumption and reducing our carbon emissions. So Green Globes is kind of the entry level. You can do it on your own. You really answer questions. You don't fill out forms and templates. It's pretty simple, and it's a good way to get your feet wet. In all of these, I'd say you don't necessarily have to do the certification. In fact, I'd say how I gained my expertise was going to an early LEED training in about 2000. I was already familiar with the principles, but just using the templates as a guideline for how I designed. And so this is probably the most common LEED. These 5 areas are, and for those of you who don't know, I think most of you probably do or have heard of LEED, but 5 areas of sustainable site planning, safeguarding water and water efficiency, energy, conservation of materials and resources, and indoor environmental quality. And all of these kind of link together. And if you think about those things, we've got every project has a site. Water falls on every site. We use water. Water is key to our life, as well as energy is key to our economy and our function in buildings. And materials, every project's got materials, and and in environmental quality, we want to be in places that enhance our life. And if you think about it, all of these things are interrelated, and that's really the key. And lastly, and this has emerged, I think, about 2006, and this is the most aggressive certification process out there. It's called the Living Building Challenge. It's out of the Pacific Northwest, the Cascadia region of U.S. Green Building Council. And what they've done is they've taken a very aggressive approach. And as a result, there are only 5 certified buildings in the history of this program. Probably the most stringent thing is you have to be a net energy producer. In other words, every bit of sunlight that falls on your building, you need to harness it. You can't go buy energy from an offsite and get a credit for it. You have to produce it on site. Same with water. But what's really unique about this, and what I think is exciting about it, is that they don't have points. They have imperatives, I believe is what they call them, but they are place, water, energy, all right, health and happiness, materials, equity, and beauty. I mean, I think that's pretty remarkable that we are starting to talk about the spiritual components of health and happiness and beauty in the green building program, and I think that is that's not by mistake, that's not by accident, because really all we're talking about is thoughtful design, and when you do thoughtful design, the result is a beautiful place. And since green, I guess, I mean, green has been around forever. We've always done green. I'm dropping money. Who's the next speaker? We've thought about design, and I'll show you some examples of what I mean by that in a few minutes, but as a result of this Gonna Green movement, the number of thought processes and methodologies that have come across, and one that I find really interesting is biophilic design. Many of you have probably heard of E.O. Wilson. He's the Ant-Man. He's a Harvard scientist that has, he's documented just crazy amounts of species, but he argues that our attraction to nature, our well-being is, and our need for the outdoors and for visual connection to the outdoors is genetic. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. And there's a lot of evidence. Judith Heerwagen is a co-author of this book. She's a psychologist, is doing a lot of research, and I think really documenting how human behavior is impacted by buildings. And we've all been in a concrete bunker, and we've all been in a space like this where we've got access to the outdoors and glass, and I think it'd be a hard argument to make as which we prefer to be in. But what's exciting about, or interesting to me about that, is that that this is actually being documented as a true indicator of your physical well-being. And there's been many cases that Judith Heerwagen has found sick building syndrome not to be as a result of off-gassing or chemicals, but actually of visual clues and busy color patterns and no access to daylight, things like that. But it's if you think about, this is the example I think of most often is the front porch, sitting on the front porch of your house. There's something nice about that, and I think this kind of makes sense of how we've evolved from planes, and you can see out. You're somewhat protected by the house behind you. You've got the cover. It's almost like you're sitting with your back to a big oak tree out in the middle of the pasture. And there's something comforting about that, and I think that's why why we find these kind of spaces so charming. Another methodology, and this I mentioned to bring in the 2030 challenge. This one really focuses on the impact of buildings and the built environment, including transportation, on energy consumption. And you can see buildings are pretty much 50%, transportation another 28%, in industry you throw in there. So energy is a big focus of the 2030 challenge. But again, this one is really about taking an integrated approach to design. And I really highly recommend this book for the designers out there. As I said, I think green is a way of thinking. This book really takes the process, breaks it down from schematic design through building occupancy, and really challenges you to think more broadly about your design task and how to integrate those 5 basic tenets of a LEED. There we go. So we move on to character, and I think that everybody knows it's something distinctive, it's something charming, it's a quality. I think it's something we desire, something we want, and I think a truly successful green building is not successful unless it does that. Now everybody has their different taste, and we'll see different examples of that, but to start design, I think you need to know what is your place. Who are your neighbors? What is your microclimate, your orientation, your resources, your site resources? And then, of course, your function and your occupancy. What's this building going to be? What's this park going to be? What is this project? What are its real goals? Quite often, we start this process without really thinking about the big picture, and it's really critical to do that. And greenfield projects, we want to address topography. We want to do topography studies. That's on the left, where the orange is the steeper grades, and really trying to lessen the impact on the site. You want to know what your vegetation is and your water resources. You want to know what direction the wind blows, how the sun is going to impact your building. These are things you can't fix 20 years from now. You got an opportunity to fix them and design your building and orient your building right at the get-go, but you don't get that. You don't get a second chance with that. So I like to say that we have not always been architecturally challenged. I think this is I believe these are Anasazi ruins, but in Colorado. And then down, this other home is down in Louisiana. But I just want to point out that we were doing green before we had air conditioning. And this cupola, in this obviously very wealthy person's house, serves a purpose in that it creates a stack effect. And back before there was air conditioning, you had your porch on the west and southwest sides, and you try to draw air through large windows up through that cupola and out, and to ventilate your building naturally. Of course, that's a little bit of a fire hazard, but that was one of, and often the basements were a key part of that. So we pulled air by the cool stone in the basement. So when we came to this country, and this is actually my great something, about 8th great uncle's house from Germany, down near Salisbury, and we kind of came with the knowledge of this is a kind of a Germanic building style. But I just want to point out, we knew how to build with natural materials. We knew how to build from the site. We didn't ship materials halfway across the country. I'll butcher this. Somebody tell me, Bethabria? Is that no? Bethabra? Okay. But again, natural materials were just the way we built, and so it was kind of intuitive, passed down through craftsmanship, and it's hard to say whether these were truly sustainable, but certainly from a material standpoint, you used what was available, and there was very little loss or waste in production, and these are all natural materials, so there's very little chance of off-gassing or actually being harmed by the building. I'm sure many of you have been up to Linville and Osceola Lodge. The old chestnut bark, again, just using a natural resource makes a very beautiful and very place-specific character of a building. So this is a very green product. In fact, it's making a comeback. This slide's out of order, but I think that's the only one. But I really wanted, I'll touch on this a little bit, but I liked this slide because they're collecting rainwater in that catch down at the end, but they're making a feature of it. They're making it a part of the character of that building and really kind of showing it off. And I think that's an example of how green can give character to a place. So again, we knew passive strategies when before we had air conditioning and automobiles and before we designed buildings around those features. We had front porches, and in Charleston, you all know we oriented the porches so away from the sun and to kind of cool our buildings. We had high windows to let daylight into the buildings. And we shaded not only the grounds, the buildings with the porches, but the grounds around it. We have been using sustainable materials, this is a mud hut. This is down in Statesboro, South Carolina. This is called pièce de terre, or rammed earth. This is an ancient Mesopotamian even building technique of just putting a little bit of pozzolan in with clays. So this church and a plantation house and several chapels was built down there, basically from clays, sands, and a slight amount of pozzolan, which is a cement, small amount. And it's a very beautiful. I was fortunate to be down there when they were renovating it and kind of get to see what's underneath the plaster, which you can see on the right hand. You kind of see the red clay of South Carolina. So I guess where I'm leading to, and I'm going to speed up a little on the buildings, but we've learned that we knew those passive technologies, and those old tricks are now becoming our new tricks. The difference with modern buildings is we are air conditioning them. That's the problem. Mechanically heating and air conditioning buildings is a real challenge, and it can create mold. We have high humidity in this area. But we've learned a lot, and we've learned how to seal these buildings and how to control the humidity with our mechanical systems. And we're going back to using shading in modern buildings. And I think, again, these can be very beautiful, form-giving, place-creating elements. They can also be very generic. Glass, you really don't even need to see it, but the technology has improved in glass so much that it can have a tremendous impact on your energy savings. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the proximity hotel. I did some consulting on that. Just by reducing the thermal bridges in these concrete panels, they made for a very tight and well-sealed building, and it's something they pride themselves on is the air quality. And they're convinced, as Dennis would tell you, he's a capitalist, and he's doing this because he wants people to come back, and he's convinced that people get a good night's sleep there because of the air quality in his buildings and the comfort that they receive in his buildings. Some other projects I've worked on, you can see that the character doesn't necessarily need to change, or be anything unique or high solar or obviously green. A lot of this is just in how the building skin is sealed and the materials are selected. And then just want to touch a little bit on the days before air conditioning, and I really do like to be comfortable. I don't despise air conditioning. But in an office building, we had to have cross ventilation. You couldn't make this building one block square and have people work there in the summertime. This happens to be in Washington, D.C. But what's unique about that is you see the kind of fins, and that also gave everybody access to daylight, which is well documented now. That gives you better productivity and work. I wanted to show this building because this has maybe means something to you, but a 28 kBTUs per square foot per year energy consumption, which is crazy low. That's like in the top 1% of office buildings in performance. And this is in Manitoba, I believe, Manitoba on Winnipeg. Again, you know, it looks like a glass skyscraper, but it has some really unique characteristics. It takes that glass tower's double wall, and it creates a chimney, just like that first plantation house that I showed you did. But then they have controls in there and different zones to keep fire and smoke from, in an emergency, from going up that shaft. But it also, if you look, it's really small fins of a building again, and it's giving everyone access to light and views, and makes for a very great place to work. Automated window openings. I mean, we have a really hard time doing this in North Carolina with the humidity on a day like today, but there are plenty of times in the spring and fall where we can get free cooling and that can give character to the building as well. These are some Siegel and Strain architect buildings out in California, but again, you see the stack effect and how that gives form, and it still fits within, I think, what you would call a more kind of California or Western aesthetic. So I'm starting to shift over a little of the stuff we're doing at NC State, and I think I probably am going to take all of my 30 minutes, so hopefully I don't see anybody sleeping yet. But this is I think one of our best examples that we've done of a building that addresses site, and we don't have a plan, a unified development ordinance like a city, but we have our own master plan. And through some great leadership, we've had some really great things done with that. And one thing we always try to do with buildings in scale is we have a base, a body, and a cap, which you can see here. But what you can also see, this is the south side on the left, and you can see the fins and louvers that are not only shading the glass, but they're also directing daylight into that space. This is a large workout room. And then what I also want to point out on the right-hand slide is now that's the eastern elevation. We don't carry the glass as extensively around the eastern side because we can't really control it. So I guess what I'm saying is a green building should, or quite often, have different characteristics on different elevations. When I was at NC State, started in '78, you know, what's the one thing everybody thinks of is brick. And it was not a particularly attractive campus. It was not, you know, and I can remember, you know, being in an architecture school, it's like, man, I hate to admit it, but Chapel Hill has a better looking campus than we do. But we have really been making tremendous strides, and I'll show you here a high-performing green infill project between two kind of blocky brick, you know, 1960s, let the air conditioning do the work, don't think about how the building skin interacts with the environment. And I think when you don't think about that, you get these kind of boring brick buildings. The most efficient building is a box with no windows. And if you, there was a time if you asked an engineer to design the perfect building, he'd want a box with no windows and no skylights. And that's the easiest thing for them to air condition and heat. So, but again, I think you can see that these green buildings are also working in harmony with the campus and the campus idea of place. Rammed earth, that ancient material that I mentioned earlier, it's making a comeback. It's really not much more in some areas than poured concrete, and I think it just has a beautiful aesthetic, and it has a natural cooling effect on the building. It's very durable. It's very earthquake-proof. Fire resistant. It's totally inert, so there's like no living parts of no living raw materials that go into the creation of those walls. So very green in that respect. It's another picture of the same building. And I mentioned the chestnut oak shingles. Of course, the chestnut blight wiped out the chestnuts, but this is, I believe, elm, which is making a very strong comeback, and I think obviously has it's a green product, but just has a beautiful opportunity to create place and character. And you're seeing this make a tremendous comeback all over North Carolina, but particularly in the mountains. Talk a little bit about our master plan at NC State now. And so we've taken an approach of conserving space and kind of identifying what are, we call them iconic spaces. And this is the Court of Carolinas. And we've developed this since I was there with just a big green grass lawn with landscaped areas. And as we develop buildings, this is the same building from looking in through the windows and out through the windows, trying to create these kind of transition zones between the big open area and then gently take you into the building with planting, and then once you're in, to have views, to have this visual connection to place, and to know that you're at NC State. Again, these are areas that have been created through different times. It's not all one project, but the classroom was part of an erosion control. We were having a area that was washing out. We just took that as an opportunity to create a space for outdoor classrooms that's used quite heavily, and then a renovation of another building where we created what we call hearth spaces, which are touchdown spaces to encourage people to kind of interact. And then we also, at the end of this Court of Carolinas, was the 1911 building, and so you kind of walk up to the top of these stairs, and there's this building, and you can't get through. And so we really are trying to take the approach of opening these buildings up. We created a two-story space, and now allow you to walk through several buildings instead of going around. So our master plan is titled A Campus of Neighborhoods and Paths. And we're really trying to create these hearth spaces, different green spaces as kind of focus of our neighborhoods. Sometimes it's a building like the Hunt Library. On the right, this is Stinson Drive, probably one of the most heavily traveled student drives, and it used to have 2 lanes of parallel parking on each side and 2 lanes of traffic, and we've narrowed that to make it more pedestrian friendly, to make it more bike friendly, and slow down traffic. And at the same time, we use these planting areas to control stormwater and also increase accessibility for disabled. So we're sacrificing the car, but nobody really misses it. I mean, it really is great. I use a bike, and I get out a lot. And we're a huge campus. I think we're the largest now in the state, and it's so much easier to get around and bike versus finding parking. We've installed a couple of these bike maintenance stations, just to, again, encourage students to ride bikes. And then we really try not to tear down buildings. We infill this one, and what you're seeing, this is the Liaison Hall where all the freshman design students go. It was the old cafeteria building. You can see the big windows where the big open areas were, and we opened up the structure of that. And then we didn't we didn't try to match the kind of the new stair tower and elevator tower there. It's very modern looking, but I think again with scale wise and the glass, it really fits in well and kind of enhances the character and cleaned that building up a lot. And we really have taken it on ourselves to see the value in preservation and that it feeds memories, it creates a place. This is Park Shops, which was, as you can imagine, shops. It was greasy, hazardous material all through it, but it's really one of the nicest, most charming buildings on campus now. get now into landscaping, and one of the things we've done, that big green area you see behind the Paul Dare track, is actually Reedy Creek, and this was a contaminated, polluted creek. It was channelized, half of it was in pipes. If you don't know, streams perform a function in that they filter out the nitrogen that gets into our streams. If we don't filter out nitrogen, it gets into the Neuse River, in our case, the Neuse River, and when we have droughts like we did in 2007, we get the fish kills and pollute, and we can't eat our shellfish. Again, so this is kind of our integrated look at the quality of life in North Carolina. And everything we do now on campus, or well, practically everything we do now, we are trying to improve stormwater runoff and not only reduce the runoff, but to improve the quality of our place. So there are stream restoration funds that are from when larger developments destroy wetlands. They have to put money in a wetland bank. Those funds can be used to restore these streams. And in our case, we daylighted the stream, took it out of the culverts, and it's become a really great learning opportunity for students that, we've got a College of Natural Resources. So again, having those kind of synergies is really part of place. And I think a lot of people don't know that this creek was even there. We did the same thing when I consulted on the proximity. That was not a culverted stream. Well, I think that's part of it was, but it was just channelized. It was like somebody had dug we need to get water off the site the fastest way possible. And that's just the wrong way to do it, because it just increases erosion and increases pollution. Whereas if you can create a meandering stream and create deep spots and shallow spots, you can get wildlife to come back and really kind of restore. And at the same time, it had the side benefit of this patio for their restaurant having a much nicer view versus this ditch, what was there before. We've taken it upon, I know y'all had Mitchell Silver here, and Raleigh's had a very, it's really impressive in the way they've rewritten their master plan. But we've taken that opportunity to work with Hillsborough Street. Hillsborough Street's not quite recovered, but again, taking the same approach to slowing traffic, and again, kind of creating place. We're still in the process of creating these kind of gateways, these identities. We want to identify our campus, but we want it to be open. We're public land grant. It is, all the buildings are open until like 5 o'clock. That's a little hard to handle sometimes, but we want to be part of the community. Here's an example of one of those ugly brick buildings. This is a space we created, another what we hope will be a kind of memorable courtyard in years to come. This was a sea of greenhouses 20 years ago, and really kind of an eyesore on the campus. And then you can see very quickly talk about Centennial Campus, and you can see in the middle of this kind of courtyard, we call that the Oval, and we're again trying to create these iconic spaces, and they have uses like the Aeronautics Day, and you can see from the building, again, we're trying to temper or not have these kind of abrupt transitions between the open court area and the building, so that it gives it a sense of scale. It gives it a transition for the human scale back into the building. And that's just part of our master plan. This is one I don't think necessarily follows that master plan so well. I imagine most of you have heard of the Hunt Library, but I'll just show you again. We're really trying to do a lot of the flat roofs. You're either going to have green or photovoltaic power generated on them. I wanted to show this one just because it shows these bio infiltration cells during construction, and then after construction. This is from inside the Hunt Library. So again, these are treating stormwater and getting it ready to go back into Lake Raleigh, which is another place that we have on campus. And at the same time, we think it enhances the natural environment or the physical environment of the library. This is another park shop, just showing another trying to traffic calming measure. And again, it kind of creates a place. We have retail and park shops, and there's a lot of traffic back and forth between these two buildings, and it was really dangerous and just really hard to see. So we slowed that traffic down, and that's been a big success. And then one of the really fun things we're doing, this just to wrap it up, we have landscape architecture program, and of course we have horticulture, but our campus landscape architect, Tom Skolnicki, has been working with students, and they have studios each, I'm not sure, twice a year, but or just once a year. But we are taking these kind of leftover spaces that might have been just kind of a concrete or dirt paths, and trying to improve those, and at the same time give students experience. So they designed this. They consult with landscape architects, but they designed this. They help install this. They do the drawings for it. So that's a student in there working on this. That's a catch basin that is in the gravel and it will be filled up with sand, and that's it. So the downspouts are coming off, pouring into that, and being filtered, and then these plants are also, they prefer nitrogen, so they kind of suck nitrogen out of the water as well. So it becomes a real learning experience for the kids, as well as creating a place and improving the environment. And we've got a number of these, and I think I'm out of time, but I'll just run through some of these. But these have been really successful projects, and it's so exciting to see the kids out there with a shovel, and they love it. And it gives them a really sense of pride in what they're doing on campus. All of these, the flagstones, this cistern, and now that's the overflow for the cistern that goes underneath the sidewalk there, and a view from above. There's our view from above. And then we also try to educate people and tell them what these bioinfiltration or rain gardens are, and how they work, because not everybody's in the College of Natural Sciences and doesn't necessarily know. But that's another, we think, community type exercise that we go through. Again, one of these ugly, I hope that's not anybody's son giving a goofy face. Over by the math and chemistry buildings, one of these ugly 1970s brutalism architecture spaces, and we're taking that and making those into rain gardens. This is really recent. I think both of these are really recent. So these will be, next year the plants will be twice as full, and still not a great space, but it's a lot better than it was. Again, this used to be a ditch. This is not. You can see how the laripe is kind of pushed down from the storm drain. This is where the field house used to be. This was kind of a trouble area where all the water kind of ran, and it wanted to go under the railroad tracks, and it flooded the tunnel. So we've, again, taken that, and you can see over on the right, that's a level spreader. Those little pieces of concrete slow the water down, then the stone in there slows it down a little more. Then it hits the mulch, and then it goes into the catch basin. So every time you slow it, a little bit more of the nitrogen and soaks into the soil and makes the water cleaner. And then lastly, the same kind of principle at the New Tally Student Center. So this is right out at the main outdoor space, and we've got I think 50,000 gallon cistern for irrigation and toilet flushing under this area. And so in a heavy downpour, this will have a couple inches of water standing in it, but it quickly filters in. It's not clay. We take the clay soil out and put more filtering type sands and loams in there, and it becomes a feature of the landscape. And again, this was planted in the spring. This is really brand new. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles, for that truly inspiring presentation. Another round of applause, please. This year, the CAC will be honoring 12 diverse projects. 7 award winners were chosen by our jury panel, Chip Calloway, Lynn Raker, and Kitty Lyon. 1 award was selected by the Winston-Salem chapter of the American Institute of Architects, and the other 4 award winners were selected by members of the Community Appearance Commission. To present this year's award winners, I'd like to invite Kismet Lofton Bell, who is a commission member, and Charles C. Cornejo, who is vice chair of the commission, up to the stage, please.
Good afternoon. Today we honor those who have helped to preserve and improve the landscape and beauty of Winston-Salem. The Count Zinzendorf Award honors projects that contribute to the attractiveness and enjoyment of the greater downtown Winston-Salem area. The winner of the Count Zinzendorf Award is the Spring House Restaurant, Kitchen, and Bar. Located on Spring Street across from the Central Library, the A.H. Bonson House was designed by Willard C. Northup in 1919 and built in 1920. The house was part of the long row of homes along West 5th Street, known as Millionaire's Row. The Bonson family maintained ownership of the house until the late 1960s, when it was given to Forsyth County to be used for offices for the Central Library. In 2006, the Forsyth County returned the building to the Bonson Family Trust. The house was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2001. The home remained empty until December 2010, when it was purchased by Lynn Murphy and Lynette Matthews Murphy to be adaptively reused for a commercial restaurant and events venue. Historic rehabilitation of the building began in May 2011 with great sensitivity given to the home's glorious past. While minimal alterations were made to the building's floor plan during Forsyth County's ownership, many of the bathroom fixtures, fireplace mantles, and original bronze fixtures were lost over the years. Much attention and care was paid to retain and repair these elements that gave the building its original charm. Rehabilitation included repairing all original windows and French doors, replacing broken or missing brass fixtures, repairing all original moldings and fireplace mantles, replacing broken bathroom tiles, stripping wall-to-wall carpet, and refinishing furniture-quality white oak floors, repairing and painting the exterior stucco, and replacing wooden shutters to their original style. The National Park Service certified the rehabilitation in February 2013. With careful attention to detail, Lynn Murphy and Lynette Matthews Murphy, with the assistance of Kevin Owen, with Owen Architecture, have restored the A.H. Bonson House and established a restaurant and events venue that will bring enjoyment to the greater downtown Winston-Salem area for years to come. I now ask Mr. Lynn Murphy and Mrs. Lynette Matthews Murphy and Mr. Kevin Owens to please join me on stage. I would like to present to you the Count Zinzendorf Award for your outstanding work with the Spring House Restaurant, Kitchen, and Bar. Congratulations. The Joseph Winston Award recognizes projects that demonstrate what restoration and rehabilitation can do for the visual and economic revitalization of small neighborhoods. The winner of the Joseph Winston Award is the Walltown Goodwill Complex. Adjacent to 2 National Register historic districts, Centerville and Sunnyside Central Terrace, The Walltown Goodwill Complex replaces the 50-year-old obsolete Goodwill retail facility on Walltown Street. The goal of the project was to construct a new 11,000 square foot retail facility and accommodate additional program elements such as a new prosperity center, supporting retail storage and tractor-trailer parking, all while remaining operational during construction. The campus approach to the redevelopment involved purchasing approximately 5 acres, nearly the entire block of Walltown Street between Vargrave and Hallett Streets. Approximately 6 different abandoned structures and an adjacent junkyard were removed and remediated as part of the redevelopment of the area. The design team had to overcome obstacles such as poor soils, years of underground dumping, contaminated buildings, utility relocations, and alley closures to achieve the end result. The Prosperity Center includes classroom space, offices for career coaches, and a break area. The new storefronts are also included in the development, which Goodwill hopes will encourage future retail investment. All the buildings feature similar building materials and were designed to look like one cohesive campus. The new retail facility was built to the highest energy conservation standards and is awaiting LEED certification from the U.S. Green Building Council. With the redevelopment of the area, the local community has gained a renewed appearance and it has maintained a vested community partner for the next 50 years. I would like to invite Mr. Bill Haymore and Mr. Art Gibble of Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina to join me on stage. I now present to you the Joseph Winston Award for your exemplary work in the redevelopment of the Walltown Goodwill Complex. Congratulations. The City Council Award honors individuals, projects, or businesses who demonstrate a commitment to the visual character of Winston-Salem. The winner of this year's City Council Award is the Forsyth County Public Safety Center. Located on Church Street in downtown Winston-Salem, the new Forsyth County Public Safety Center is the result of a comprehensive renovation of the 1970s era brutalist style Phillips building that sat underutilized for over a decade. The successful project represents the collaborative effort between county officials and staff, local architects, designers, and contractors. The renovation of the 289,000 square foot building and adjacent parking began with the cleanup and demolition of the interior that included abatement of hazardous materials typically found in buildings from this era. The exterior renovation included painting the existing precast concrete skin in 2 contrasting colors to break up the mass of the building and define individual architectural elements. A new entry was added to provide a focal point and sense of scale to the street. The existing aluminum windows were replaced with new energy-efficient windows, and the outdated heating and cooling systems were replaced with new, more efficient systems. The high-efficiency insulation and structural upgrades were also included as part of the renovation. All of this was done to make the building more sustainable and to bring it into compliance with current codes. These seemingly simple exterior renovations have made a huge impact on the appearance of the building while still respecting its brutalist architectural style. The project is an example of the power of adaptive reuse for modern buildings. I now invite Council Member and Mayor Pro Tempore Vivian Burke to join me in presenting the City Council Award.
Good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to look out and see people who are positive, who join us to make a difference for this city and county. As I was listening to the speaker, I want to let you know how much I appreciate your sharing your information. And to Mr. Norb and his staff, who works with us with our community appearance And one of my jobs as the Mayor Pro Tem is to make recommendations for people to serve on this Community Appearance Committee. And I invite you, if you're interested, to please join this committee. We know we cannot do it without you. So the job I've been given is to invite Mr. Gary Key and also Mr. Marcelo Mezenzar to come up. Are they here? Have y'all up here. I present to you with the City Council Award for your hard work and dedication to the renovation of the Phillips Building into the state-of-the-art Phillips Public Safety Center. Congratulations, and I want you to know I pass this building about every day. And every day when I pass it, I want you to know I have a sense of pride. It makes you feel good to see a building with that many square foot not being used, and now it's being used in our city, and this gives me an opportunity to say, all of you, we put a lot of money into the city, county too. Come visit the city. Don't let it close up at 6 o'clock in the evenings. Keep it going. Thank you so very much.
The Mayor's Award recognizes new construction within the city of Winston-Salem that has both a visual and an economic role in the revitalization of downtown. The winner of this year's Mayor's Award is the Career Center. Located on Highland Avenue just east of US 52, the Career Center represents a new approach for advanced placement and career technical education, drawing students from the county's 14 traditional high schools. The property is also the home of the Kennedy School and the new Carter High School for special needs students. By developing the 17-acre site with 3 new schools, designers were able to maximize the use of an urban site and allow students to share certain on-site amenities, such as the school auditorium. Architectural and engineering elements were included in the design to further the students' learning experience. Natural light is provided by floor-to-ceiling windows throughout all learning spaces and common areas. Fresh air is delivered in each space using energy recovery equipment. The building design offers view corridors to the community's rich history, specifically the Goler AME Church and R.J. Reynolds tobacco factories. The Career Center also features a rooftop garden and exterior sunshade elements. Solar panels on the roof are used as a teaching tool in the alternative energies classrooms. The central location and high visibility of the center make it accessible to the entire community, with the school's central gathering space and culinary arts classroom being used for the community for meetings and social functions. Through an innovative design, the Career Center brings together students from different schools and academic backgrounds to create one education community. Furthermore, with its urban location, the Career Center inspires the next generation to invest in the future of the greater downtown area. I now invite Winston-Salem Mayor Alan Joynes to join me in presenting the Mayor's Award.
Thank you, Kismet. Good afternoon, everyone. This is always a great event as we share the treasures throughout Winston-Salem and the new treasures that are prepared each year. Would Wesley Curtis join me on stage, please? Wesley, of course, is with the architectural firm Walter Robb's Architects and Interiors, and we have a representative of the school systems with us as well. What you've done, gentlemen, is to create not only a functional educational facility, but one that is also innovative. It's a learning experience, it's sustainable, and a great addition to not only that part of the city, but Winston-Salem all told. So it's my honor to present you the Mayor's Award for this year and for the great work that you've done to make our city a better place.
The County Commissioners Award honors new construction that reflects the true use of the building while incorporating distinctive decorative elements. The winner of this year's County Commissioners Award is the Wake Forest University Welcome Center. Wake Forest University's admissions office, formerly located in Starling Hall, quickly outgrew its available space due to the increasing number of applications received over the past decade. With the need for space ever pressing, Wake Forest University charged Lambert Architecture and Interiors with creating a new Welcome Center that not only accommodated growth, but also revered the Georgian Revival architectural style of the campus while incorporating modern materials and respecting the environment. The designers at Lambert paid great attention to the first impression prospective students and parents will have upon arrival at the center, particularly in the entrance sequence and public areas. The building primarily serves the Office of Admissions, which holds information sessions year-round for prospective students and their families. An auditorium and large meeting room, along with interview rooms, waiting areas, and visitor support spaces were included in the design to support the application process. The building also doubles as space for public functions and private events. The building received LEED Gold certification from the U.S. Green Building Council. The new Welcome Center at Wake Forest University is extraordinary and innovative. The design responds eloquently to the terrain and complements the use of the building, all while respecting the character of the surrounding campus. I now invite Forsyth County Board of Commissioners Chairman Richard Linville to join me in presenting the County Commissioners Award.
Thank you. Thank you all for allowing me to be here this afternoon. I hope everybody's doing well. It's always hard for me to follow the mayor. He can speak without a script, and I have to read one. I would like to ask Mr. Stuart McCormick, Vice President of Lambert Architecture and Interiors, and Ms. Jennifer Poulter Wilkins, Project Manager with Lambert Architecture and Interiors, to join me on the stage. Stuart and Jennifer, I present you with the County Commissioners Award for your exemplary work in creating a building design that reflects the use of the building while incorporating distinct architectural elements. Congratulations on the work you've done.
The Benjamin Forsyth Award recognizes projects that demonstrate how the realization of landscaping vision, big or small, can inspire others with its beauty and creativity. The winner of the Benjamin Forsyth Award is First Presbyterian Church. Located in the heart of downtown Winston-Salem, First Presbyterian Church constructed a new worship center in 2005 on an adjacent lot that had previously been a parking lot. As part of the new addition, volunteer master gardener Bill Colvin, in conjunction with Conifer Ridge Botanical Gardens, developed the surrounding church property into a unique garden featuring several specimen trees and shrubs. A number of specimen trees are located throughout the landscape, including dwarf black pine, Hollywood juniper, oriental birch, weeping elm, trident maple, and fernleaf buckthorn. Multiple shrubs are also included in the landscape, such as viburnums, arborvitae, rhododendron, and holly to add contrast and color throughout the seasons. The landscape is meticulously maintained by church volunteers under the supervision of volunteer master gardeners Bert Lance and Nancy Alexander. The gardens change from time to time, with new species being added every year. Case in point, over the past year, 11 new trees and shrubs were added to the grounds. First Presbyterian Church is achieving its goal of providing a beautiful specimen garden for the enjoyment of church members and the public, with the wonderfully maintained grounds that enhance the appearance of downtown Winston-Salem. I now ask Mr. Bert Lance, church volunteer and master gardener, to please join me on stage. I now present to you the Benjamin Forsyth Award for your excellent landscaping at First Presbyterian Church. Congratulations. The Flora Ann Bynum Award recognizes projects or people who go above and beyond to practice good land conservation, landscape preservation, and/or tree conservation. The winner of the Flora Ann Bynum Award is the 1756 reconstructed French and Indian War Palisade Fort at Bethabara Park. Bethabara is the 1753 site of the first Moravian settlement in North Carolina. It is a local historic district on the National Register of Historic Places and has been designated by the Secretary of Interior as a National Historic Landmark. As an important visual icon of today's historic Bethabara Park, the reconstructed 1756 French and Indian War fort is of major significance to the presentation of the park's history. It is the only French and Indian War fort in the southeast reconstructed on its original site. The remains of the original fort were uncovered in the mid-1960s by archaeologist Stanley South, an expert on historic archaeology of early fortifications. The reconstruction followed the original footprint based on historical maps, drawings, and archaeological research. The posts were replaced in 1990, but the wood deteriorated, particularly at the base, causing them to become unstable and fall. The fort was reconstructed between November 2012 and January 2013 by the Wilson-Covington Construction Company. The project involved removing the existing posts, digging new footings for the entire perimeter, and installing pressure-treated posts that had been hand-worked with a draw knife to replicate the original palisades. The base was waterproof, set in stained concrete, and backfilled with gravel for added strength. Lastly, the grounds around the fort were regraded to direct any runoff away from the structure. The reconstruction of the 1756 Palisade Fort was superbly completed, allowing Bethabara Park to continue to educate visitors about 18th century life in Piedmont, North Carolina. I now ask Mr. Hayes Walford, Jr., Executive Vice President for Wilson-Covington Construction Company, and Ms. Ellen Kutcher of Historic Bethabara Park to please join me on stage. I am pleased to present you with the Flora Ann Bynum Award for your excellent reconstruction of the 1756 French and Indian War Palisade Fort at Historic Bethabara Park. Congratulations.
Thank you.
As part of the awards program, the Winston-Salem chapter of the American Institute of Architects honors one project for architectural excellence. This year, the AIA has chosen to honor the Wake Forest Biotech Place. Wake Forest Biotech Place is located at the corner of 5th Street and North Patterson Avenue in the Wake Forest Innovation Quarter and is comprised of two completely restored former tobacco facilities, once owned by R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company and donated to the Innovation Quarter. Owned and developed by Baltimore-based Wexford Science and Technology, LLC, the project was made possible through the State Meal Tax Credit Program and the Federal New Market and Historic Tax Credits. Renovation of two former tobacco buildings began in 2011, with the buildings being gutted and stripped of their basic structure on the interior and then retrofitted with new mechanical, HVAC, and electrical systems to meet current code standards. Featuring a 7,500 square foot glass atrium that illuminates the building center and provides natural light to the workspaces, Biotech Place is 5 stories tall on the south side and 3 stories tall on the north side. The south end of the building was originally constructed in 1937 and features the distinctive glass block exterior, where each original block was inspected and carefully repaired or replaced for the renovation. The north end of the building, originally built in 1962, posed interesting challenges due to the freeway-style ramp extending from its northwest corner, which was removed to allow for parking and pedestrian circulation. The south plaza of the building was updated with outdoor seating, enhanced paving, plantings, and amenities to better reflect the reinvented nature of the building. The building received LEED Gold certification from the U.S. Green Building Council. Also, it was listed as one of the 10 Remarkable Preservation winners of 2012 by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. The careful restoration and retrofitting of the buildings created a unique structure in only 18 months at a cost of more than $100 million, making it the largest capital investment for a construction project in the history of downtown Winston-Salem, and helping to solidify Wake Forest Innovation Quarters, place in the future of Winston-Salem. I now ask Mr. Stephen Leonhardt, Associate Principal with Gaudreau, Inc., to please join me on stage. I present to you the AIA Award on behalf of the Community Appearance Commission and the Winston-Salem chapter of the AIA for architectural excellence in the design of the Wake Forest Biotech Place. Congratulations. The winners of the next 3 awards were chosen by members of the Community Appearance Commission. In honor of the celebrated local brickmaker, George Black, the George Black Award recognizes an artisan or craftsman whose quality workmanship in his chosen field has made a significant contribution to the betterment of our community's appearance. The Community Appearance Commission has chosen to recognize a craftsman who has established himself in the field of woodworking. The winner of the George Black Award is Dale Gramley. Dale Gramley's career has spanned 4 decades, having started his career as a woodworker in the 1970s. His passion for woodworking began as a child. When the rest of his family was watching football or baseball game, he would be downstairs in the family's basement tinkering away on some piece of wood. In the 1980s, he opened the Salem Woodworking Company. Since those early days, he has established himself as a premier craftsman. His work included moldings, doors, shutters, murals, and even furniture. He has worked on projects throughout Winston-Salem, including historic structures in Old Salem and the Senior Services Building, throughout the state, from Oxford to Blowing Rock, and throughout the East Coast, from the Miles Bruton House in Charleston to Park Avenue in New York City. I now invite Mr. Frederick Terry, the grandson-in-law of George Black, to join me in presenting the award.
Thank you, Kismet. Would Mr. Granby please come forward?
He Mr. Black's grandchild?
No,
Oh, okay. He
but
made some good bricks.
he did. Yes, he did. On behalf of State Representative Evelyn Terry, the President and CEO of George Black House and Brickyard, it is my pleasure to give you the George Black Award for your outstanding craftsmanship in the field of woodworking and your dedication to the community. I appreciate it.
We need to thank Lloyd Granville for giving the Moravians 100,000 acres here, or we would not have such an outstanding county.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, thank you. The Community Appearance Commission Award honors visionary leadership and exemplary service in Forsyth County over an extended period of time in pursuit of high-quality community appearance. The winner of the Community Appearance Commission Award is the Arts-Based School. Located between Wake Forest Innovation Quarter and the Downtown Arts District, the school was founded in 1999 with a commitment to active and creative scholarly exploration that engages students, their family, and community, and all school personnel in the learning experience. Individualized and interdisciplinary arts-based instruction is utilized to achieve a strong core curriculum that builds on the student's life experiences and multiple ways of learning. As a charter school, the school is able to go beyond traditional approaches to teaching to use arts-based instruction and alternative assessment techniques to provide students and parents with choices. When the school opened its doors, 67 students in grades K through 3 were enrolled. During the past decade, the school has grown to become a K through 8 school with more than 400 students and a waiting list at every grade level. The addition of the middle school required additional building space. In 2013, a dilapidated warehouse directly behind the existing school was purchased and renovated into a modern learning environment with an outdoor courtyard. Much of the building's original industrial fittings were maintained, such as the concrete floors and exposed beams on the interior and the rough brick and metal grates on the exterior. Additional natural light is used to highlight student artwork on the white interior walls through the frosted skylights that line the hallway ceilings. Mary Siebert, arts director for the school, described the goal for design as industrial funk. The new addition has had a positive impact on the adjacent community, particularly the Goler Community Development Center, and has allowed the arts-based school to continue to play an integral role in the redevelopment of downtown. Furthermore, it is providing the future generation of community leaders the skills necessary to succeed in an ever-changing environment through innovative learning experiences. I now ask Ms. Robin Hollis, the principal of the Arts-Based School, to please join me on stage. I present to you the Community Appearance Commission Award for your work that you're doing at the school. Congratulations. The final award to be presented this afternoon is the Classic Award. The Classic Award recognizes landmark buildings, developments, and landscapes of enduring value and quality that have become symbols of our local community. The Commission chose to honor 2 distinctively different projects this year, each representing an aspect of our community's history. The first winner of the Classic Award is the Piedmont Leaf Loss. Located on 4th Street on the eastern edge of downtown, Piedmont Leaf Loss, say that 5 times fast, was the first adaptive reuse of tobacco warehouses to take place in the downtown tobacco district. The project was completed in 2 phases. The first phase was completed in 2002 and involved the adaptive rehabilitation of the W.F. Smith & Sons Leaf House. The building was originally constructed in 1890, with the firm being one of the first factories in the city to make cigarettes. The second phase of the project was completed in 2006 and involved the adaptive rehabilitation of the Brown Brothers Tobacco Priory, located just north of Phase 1 across 4th Street. The building was originally constructed in 1895 for the Brown Brothers Tobacco Company, one of Winston's largest 19th century tobacco manufacturers. By 1900, both W.F. Smith & Sons and Brown Brothers were listed as tobacco priories, warehouses used to store and pack re-dried tobacco. In 1907, both companies were acquired by James B. Duke's American Tobacco Company. In 1912, R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company held storage areas in both buildings. Additionally, a wholesale grocer occupied floors of the W.F. Smith & Sons building, and a confectioner's manufacturing firm occupied floors of the Brown Brothers building. Piedmont Leaf Tobacco took over the buildings during the 1920s. Rehabilitation work involved in the project included large removal of equipment left in the buildings, many of which were repurposed, lifting of all floor systems, re-engineering of an elevator, window repairs, installing a new roof, creation of parking deck openings, masonry work, and the addition of new plumbing, electrical, and mechanical systems. Today, the buildings offer residential, office, and commercial space. Phase 1 includes 14 apartment units, all of which are occupied, and 1 office space also occupied. The building also includes a fitness room, garage parking, on-site storage, a sun deck, and a patio with grilling area. Phase 2 includes 4 occupied residential units and 2 occupied commercial units owned by Brown Prizery LLC, as well as 30 individually owned commercial and residential units. The building also includes a fitness room, sauna, steam room, garage parking, on-site storage, patio, and sun deck with cabana. The Piedmont Leaf Lofts not only represents a significant period in our community's history, but also marks the rebirth of the city's downtown tobacco district. I now ask Mr. Ed Lipsky, President of Rehab Builders Incorporated, to please join me on stage. I present to you with the Classic Award the wonderful adaptive rehabilitation of the W. Smith & Sons and Brown Brothers buildings into the Piedmont Leaf Loft. Congratulations. The second winner of the Classic Award is the Red Bank School Restoration. The 2-room Red Bank School is one of only a few existing frame Forsyth County schools constructed around the turn of the 20th century. The earliest reference to the school is a record of property purchase in 1881. It is believed the school was constructed shortly thereafter. The school was used as a private residence in the 1940s and later as a storage building. However, the building was left abandoned and deteriorating for many years. In 2008, a group of citizens from Rural Hall, Germantown, Winston-Salem, and Walnut Cove came together and formed the nonprofit group Save the Historic Red Bank School Committee to reclaim the building. Over the next 5 years, the group worked tirelessly to raise the necessary funds necessary to move and restore the historic school. With the help of the Rural Initiative Project and as the principal fundraiser, donations from the Winston-Salem Foundation, potluck fundraisers, and a gift of donated land at Horizon Park by Forsyth County, the relocation and restoration of the school were able to take place. On June 22, 2011, the school was relocated to its current site at Horizon Park. Contractor Kevin Thomas reconstructed the roof, and local residents and committee members met for volunteer work days to do stone foundation work, reconstruct missing or deteriorated portions of the building, and paint. The principal craftsmen from the committee were John Cox, Bryce Oakley, Shorty Bennett, and Mike Cumby. On June 30, 2013, the restored school was publicly rededicated. The school is now a museum, tourist destination, and teaching tool illustrating to today's students how their predecessors learned the 3 R's. I now ask Bryce Oakley to please join me on stage. I present to you the Classic Award for your hard work in restoring the Red Bank School. It is truly a lesson in love, determination, teamwork, and craftsmanship. Congratulations. Let's give the awardees one more round of applause for their award.
Thank you, Kismet and Charlesy, who is our own Vanna White. This time I'd like to thank the individuals and businesses that have made this event possible. I'd like to give a big shout out to our jury panel, Chip, Calloway, Lynn Raker, and Kitty Lyon. And of course, our keynote speaker, Charles Brown. Also, I'd like to thank Old Salem Museum and Gardens for donating this space for us to have our event today, as well as the New Garden Landscaping and Nursery for providing the greenery and those beautiful container gardens that you see out in the foyer. And finally, the Winston-Salem chapter of the American Institute of Architects for their ongoing support of our program. Thank you. And in conclusion, I'd like to thank you all for coming out to our event today, and make it a great evening. Thank you.